Hi everybody, this is John here. This is Paul, George,
and Ringo.
And we're very happy to be on your program once again.
Hello everyone and welcome to show number 70 of Beatles News Briefs, your home for all the news you need to know and the best talk from the Beatles world. I'm your host, Steve Marinucci, and we have a full show today with two big interviews. Our first guests are direct from Liverpool at International Beatles Week. Beatles fan Olivia Anne Morris Fuchs, Jon Keats from the Cavern, who's one of the organizers, and also Danilo Fiani, who plays George Harrison in the Beatles tribute band from Brazil, the BlueBeetles. We also have a second interview with Johnathan Pushkar, whose new, very Beatles-influenced single, Isabella, has just dropped about the time we're recording this, and you'll get to hear it later in the show. But first, a little bit of news. New York got to see a Beatle on a rooftop when Ringo Starr played at a show at the rooftop at Pier 17 on August 18th with his all-star band. The show started late because of rain, but then Ringo and the band did their set. While in New York, Ringo gave an interview to the New York Daily News. He said, "No one will understand the emotion of us landing in America, but it was New York and all of the music we loved came from there. It was just far out." And he said, "I love playing with other musicians, I love the audience, and they love me," talking about his current life. He talked a little bit about Abbey Road, but the album, not the upcoming set. He said, "I just love side 2, Bathroom Window and Polythene Pam are like short bits because they hadn't finished the songs, really. The other thing I'm really always proud of is that there was a bit of tension. Not all the time, not as much as people like to think, but if you counted it in, everybody gave their all. Nobody said, 'Oh well, not my song.' Nobody held back. You did your best every take." About his own new album, he says it's almost ready to be released. "I've got the album finished and we're trying to decide a cover," he said. And about his life in general, he said, "I love to paint, I love to play music, I love to make records, and I love to go on tour. I love life." The Magical Beatles Museum in Liverpool is featuring an audience and signing session with former Beatle Pete Best on August 26th. And now here's our first interview. It's direct from Liverpool and International Beatles Week with Beatle fan Olivia Anne Morris Fuchs, who's attending, Jon Keats of the Cavern, who's one of the organizers, and Danilo Fiani, who plays George Harrison in the Brazilian tribute group, the BlueBeetles. And also making a very quick appearance, because he was ill and he couldn't stick around, is Bill Heckle, co-owner of the Cavern. There's more show after the Cavern, so don't go away. And here we go with the interview. I'm talking to Liverpool, and I've got some people that are at International Beatle Week. Let me start with Olivia Anne, a friend of mine on Facebook. Hello, Olivia.
Hi, Steve. How are you today?
Hey, would you introduce everybody else that's there?
I'd be delighted to. We have Jon Keats, who's one of the main movers and shakers of this magnificent International Beatles Week. And we have Danilo Fiani from the band The BlueBeetles in Brazil. And we're here to share a little of our thoughts with your listeners today.
Oh, Bill is there. Oh, hello, Bill.
I've just popped in, just to say hello, Steve. Long time no see or no hear, but I'm full of flu.
Oh my gosh, it's very nice of you to show up, Bill. Yeah, we have not met before. We have not met. I mean, I've communicated with you many times over the years, but we have not. This is the first time we've talked. So when did things start?
Well, there are official dates, so we can tell you official dates were yesterday, but we have all kinds of dates. My official date was last Saturday because I can't bear to not wander all over Liverpool and see all her wonderful people and attractions and food and everything else. So I was here Saturday. And then, of course, the fun is everybody starts joining from all over the world. But officially, everything started yesterday, and we got our armbands and tickets and everything today.
Oh, cool. Okay. And exactly, what's your itinerary? I'm just curious.
My itinerary is to stand upright as long as I can with no sleep. and to hear every single band that's here on four or five stages simultaneously, which you know is impossible.
Right.
So we climb stairs, listen to music, and sleep a few minutes and go back at it. So my itinerary is to stay through Beatle Week and keep listening to music at the Cavern a day or so later, and I come home later this month.
Okay. Are you going to Best Fest? You going to Pete Best's thing?
Am I going to? Oh, you mean the event that's part of International Beatle Week?
Right.
You referring to Best Fest, which is the Saturday evening.
Yes. No, I'm not going to make that this year. I went one year, and it was quite. I'll tell you honestly, the combination of seeing the Cavern stage is both stages, and going to the Casbah was an overwhelming experience. Truly, until I saw them, I couldn't really wrap my brain around what really happened to these boys. George was a child when all this started. He got indoctrinated pretty quickly. But until you've stood in these places and seen where it was they started, you just can't really understand how much things changed. And so I try to take in as much as possible. And now I've been here, this is my third year. And of course, there are people who've been here every year. But I will say that everyone who's here just tucks new people in immediately. And it's just such a wonderful experience. If you are a Beatle lover and you haven't been here at least once, you're not prepared yourself. You need to be. I'm talking to you, Steve.
Yes, I know you are. I know you are. But anyway, let's start. Is that John right there?
Yeah.
Next to you? Okay.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Hi, John. I don't know what to say as far as. I mean, what are you going to be dealing with as far as events this week?
We've got so many events going on, as Olivia Anne said. It started on Wednesday, and Wednesday and Thursday it's pretty much based around the Cavern Club and the pub, and then from Friday right the way through Tuesday we expand the whole festival. So we start taking all of our guests out to all these amazing events. For example, on Saturday, we're taking 2,000 people out to the Casbah and the village of West Derby where the Casbah is. So we've got to bus 2,000 people. That's all the guests and all the musicians.
Oh my gosh!
And that's because the Casbah is tiny. Obviously, you can only get about 40 people in there. So we've got an outside stage at the Casbah, and then we've taken over 3 of the pubs in the village. And we've got 5 stages in the pub. So even on a Saturday, it's like I think we are quite insane anyway, but it's like a festival within the festival. So that's just one thing we do. So there's different. We take over theatres. We take over everything really. We take over one of the biggest hotel in Liverpool, the Adelphi Hotel. We take over that for the whole week. That is the base, and that's where I have to say it's always Olivia Anne. That's where Olivia Anne can be seen drinking till 6 a.m. every morning. I
confirm that.
Yeah, we send security to say you've got to sleep for at least an hour.
You know my Sky Vodka story, so you know that's not true. But try to keep up with all the babies around here, and they think I do a fairly decent job.
Having not been there, it's hard for me to, and maybe for other people that haven't been there, it's hard almost to imagine, what takes over, what International Beatles Week does to Liverpool. What does it do? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, 34 years the festival's been going now. And I always say this, and even my family laugh at me. I say, for people involved in Beatle Week, regulars to Beatle Week, people who organise Beatle Week, and to Liverpool, because we're so used to Beatle Week, you map your year out with Christmas, Easter, Beatle Week, Christmas, Easter, Beatle. It's just part. I mean, you'd agree with that. It's part of it's part of your year, and for this 1 week, I mean, it's every day in Liverpool now is Beatle Day, because there's so many great things to do and so many authentic experiences for Beatle fans. But for this 1 week, there is a complete buzz in the city, because we've got thousands of guests from all over the world. We always bring 70 bands from all over the world. We've got 73 Beatle tribute bands from 23 different countries this year. So you put all the musicians in the mix, you put the guests in the mix, and it really does turn into a huge party in Liverpool for this week. And it's as is keeping with, of course, with the Beatles' message themselves. It's all. It sounds a cliche, but it's love, and it's
so
peace
beautiful.
and friendship, and
it really is just so beautiful.
Yeah, and I've been involved in it for myself since 1990, which is a long time. And you make friends for life, and each year you make new friends. And as we said, you're welcomed into this wonderful party of Beatles lunacy for a week. And the man you might speak to in a minute, Danilo from Brazil, he's probably one of the craziest musicians we bring over.
And one of the loveliest fellows who just is a perfectionist in his work and plays. He's a George, and so of course I'm all about that. And Danilo just so honors Gretsch guitars, by whom he's endorsed, which of course was George's first, as he said, his first decent guitar. And Danilo, before I even knew him, had George's guitar, as do I. And he, with his band, the BlueBeetles, just makes wonderful music. But before we move on, you were talking about you didn't really know what to ask. Let me give you a sense of today. We got up after 4 hours of sleep and met a universe of friends that I see once or twice a year, because I not only have been here for 3 years at International Beatle Week in Liverpool, but I also go to Abbey Road on the river, and that's how I've met many of these bands and people who I see here. Mm-hmm. And last I saw something. You know me well enough to know I weep at anything lovely. And last night I was watching a band whose name I really can't pronounce very well. It's like Sonico Club. Amazing band, two-piece band, and the drummer was watching me because, of course, I'm always right in front of the stage. And I saw some people come in, and we all hugged and kissed, and he just melted. And then a few minutes later, he said, all of us getting together and sharing peace and love and being together is really what all the music is about. And that's true. And this festival embodies that. The people of Liverpool are astonishing. They are all delightful. As I'm wandering around, if I stop to figure out where I am, people will come up to me and say, "May I help you?" It's lovely. So
I've heard stories about that, and I have met a few people from Liverpool over here. But yeah, that makes you keep hearing that, and it's really true.
I was this morning, and we had, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 stages full all day of magnificent artists. And so, of course, it's the game of how do you see everybody all the time? And you can't. And I'll have you know we love you much because we're missing one of our favorite bands while we're doing this. And I want you to talk to Danilo for a while and let him give you his perspective of all of this.
Okay. I just wanted to ask though, who are among the big names that are showing up this year?
Well, to be honest, with the big names in terms of guests this year, we've got for the first time ever, we've got Jack Douglas, who obviously produced John's Double Fantasy,
right?
And appeared on Imagine. So Jack's with us on Sunday for the main convention day. We've got Mark Hudson, Ringo's former producer, co-writer. He's back with us. Mm-hmm. He's quite a regular, and he always brings a lot of fun to the party. We've got Alan White, from Yes, obviously John's Plastic Ono band, because it's the 50th anniversary of Toronto.
Right.
Live in Toronto. So
God,
we've got,
I didn't even think about that. My gosh,
Yeah.
another 50th anniversary. Wow.
And so we've actually got Alan teamed up with one of our guys who sings a great John Lennon part, and we're recreating the live piece in Toronto with Alan on drums on Sunday, complete with a Yoko. So they're the main guests. We've got one of your finest Beatle tribute bands headlining tomorrow's show. We've got the Fab Four.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Good friends of ours. We've had them over a few times, and we were lucky to meet up with them in LA in April for a few beers. So they're headlining tomorrow. We've got Mark McGann, who you may be familiar with, who's portrayed John Lennon many years ago in John and Yoko, A Love Story, the film. He still does a fantastic, really honest tribute to John. So he's headlining our theatre show Saturday. We've got a great band from Sweden, Pepperland, who are paying tribute to Abbey Road on the anniversary of Abbey Road. So but really they're the big acts, but it's the other 60 bands, you know. Some of these bands you come over and sometimes you bring the band over for the first time, and they've got to earn the stripes really. But some of these bands, they come over and you think, well, you know, they should be on they should be on a theatre show, because the standard throughout, as I'm sure we'll all agree, the standard and the different, sometimes different interpretations that the bands bring, and certainly with the Latin American bands, they bring their own spin on things. So there's no real stars of Beatle Week. You know, it's everyone from the bands to the regulars and the guests. It is one big family really.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Danilo, nice to meet you.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Tracy.
So your band is the BlueBeetles.
Yes.
And how long have you been with them?
I joined the band on December 2012. So my first year here in Liverpool was 13. And I've been coming every year since. I would just add to what John said, being a Brazilian living in Rio, I have Christmas, Carnival, and then Beatle Week. It's something like, it's just positiveness. It's just a matter of really love and positiveness. And if you've never been, I'd like to warn you that once you come, you want to come every year, because you get addicted. It's so nice. It's good to play, of course. Like I was talking with Joe Kane, who's playing bass for this year, since our bassist Mario couldn't come. He's been coming since 2010, so he was very sad about not being able to come this year. But I was talking to Joe, like we are very anxious to go up on stage. Our first will be tonight at midnight, so it's a big part of the thing. But the other big part of the thing, being a musician, really, it's about people meeting friends that we make, and this is the moment of the year that we are able to see lots of people that we got to know here in Liverpool, and we get anxious to come back and to see everybody and to party and to have some pints down in the Cavern in the Delphi, and it's a real party, really. It's like a wheel of positiveness. It's an amazing event. You get addicted to that. Please come and reserve your August. Every year you will want to return.
What do you do to play George? Olivia, obviously, if you gotten a good review from Olivia, I mean, you're doing a good job. But just
thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. But from your perspective, you know, when you formulate the character that you're playing, what do you do? How do you come into that?
I really don't. I started to learn the guitar when I was a teenager, and a friend of mine from school, he lended me a cassette of a collection of some Beatles songs. And my father is a professional acoustic guitar, nylon string guitar in Brazil, but I never wanted to learn the guitar until I listened to the Beatles, and so I got connected to George Harrison's guitar very early. So it was something that it really got into me in a way, in a very deep way. I remember when I was at the university studying I'm a geographer, and I didn't have much money, so I bought these old vinyls from George Harrison's solo career, because they were very cheap at that time. They're not that cheap anymore because vinyl became something that people want to buy. But 20 years ago, it was very cheap in Brazil, so I could buy those vinyls from Harrison solo career, and I got a big fan. And I think there's something that helped me along, because my father, being a nylon string guitarist, he gets big nails on the right hand. And that's the way I learned to play the guitar, with finger picking with my nails. So it helped me to learn the slide guitar that Harrison plays, because he needs to play different strings and mute the other ones. So I think in a way it helped me to play the slide, which is a very characteristic thing of George Harrison's guitar. So I think it's just, I was a very big fan of his music, so that's all about it, I guess.
What songs do you play on stage?
Pardon me?
What songs do you play on stage?
By Harrison? Oh, we play some. We play Zanita Pity. We're gonna do Wawa this festival. We do play Your Love Is Forever, which is a beautiful ballad from the George Harrison album, 79. We're gonna do Blow Away. We have some of Harrison's solo. Of course, we do My Sweet Lord and the more well-known songs, but we do have a.
And you probably, and which Harrison? I mean, do you do all the Harrison Beatles songs? Something, Don't Bother Me.
Yes, we do. I don't think we'll be doing these songs for this year, because we try to focus on more B-sided stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a good thing about Beatle Week too, because we can play all the B-sides that we want and people will know and like it. It's not like on our regular shows in Rio that we do need to play the hits. So here we can play the B-sides and be happy because people will like it. So, but we might do it at some point. Sorry.
No. One of the things before we move off that Danilo touched on that you would understand. As you know, George was known as being one of the finest slide guitarists, electric guitarists there ever was.
Right.
And very few tribute artists try to master, or if they do, they don't present George's slide work. And really what attracted me to Danilo's work was that he has managed to not only replicate the notes, but he gets the nuance of how George plays slide. And it's really wonderful. And so I just wanted that to be something that, as he was talking about learning slide and all that, your listeners may not know that that's a very unusual and great talent to have.
Yeah, I have to confess that I played guitar in the past. I don't play it much anymore, but I love slide guitar, and I have tried, and Harrison's technique is not something you pick up very easily. It's very individual. It's very unique, and so yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You guys are looking off at something.
We were looking at George.
You can see us.
We didn't
I thought
think
you said you couldn't see us.
we didn't think you could see us.
Oh no, I can see you, but you can't see me.
Oh, I've been playing with my nose.
Do you want to see it? Okay, so there he is. Can you see him hiding?
Oh, there's a picture of him. Oh, there's something in front of it, but yeah. Oh, okay, there's John. I see that.
And Stu. And there's the boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, those are, God, those pictures are beautiful. Those are all...
Astrid's work, yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I don't see my favorite of John and George, though. My favorite is after Stu died, and they were up in the attic, and John was bereft, And little George, the baby brother, had his hand on his shoulder, and to me, that's the most touching photo Astrid ever took. I love everything she did, but that's my favorite.
Any of you guys ever meet Astrid?
I haven't.
I haven't. She has been to the festival in the past as a guest, but it was before I was one of the organisers. But she has been there, yeah, a couple of times. In fact, the images that we got in our boardroom now, they were signs. They were a gift from Astrid last time she was over, and they were signed for us from Astrid.
She did a West Coast Beatle Fest many years ago, and I met her, and she was fantastic. She was, I don't know how to describe it. I do remember though that there was a disc jockey questioning her, and he got, I guess, a little too personal for her about her relationships with the Beatles and with Stu, and she wouldn't have any of it. She was very forceful, but she was wonderful to talk to. She was really wonderful. I did talk to her a little bit, and she was very nice. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys. You guys have to get out of there pretty soon, don't you? Yeah. So
you know where I want to be.
I've still got work to do. These two want to get back into the bar.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, you guys have fun, and thank you all for taking the time to do this.
Nice to almost meet you.
Nice to almost meet you too.
And I hope your listeners enjoy this and start making their plans to be here. Either, my perspective is we're talking about International Beatle Week, and of course that's our main focus. But our universe gathers twice a year at least, if not more. And a lot of my friends come to Abbey Road on the River in May, and of course they need to make their plans to be back here next year because it's wonderful. And John and all of the organizers, I will say this is something everybody needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
The organizers and every single staff person, without any exception I've ever seen, is courteous, kind, and bends over backwards to help you be here and have a wonderful trip and a wonderful experience. So I couldn't, 5 stars isn't close enough to where this festival and all the artists and promoters and staff put this. And so I hope everybody will find themselves here soon.
I guess I'll have to buy the beer now.
Yes. Just to be to give people a specific location. Abbey Road on the River is Memorial Day weekend next year, and where is it? It's
Indiana, and of
Okay.
course, International Beatle Week is where it all is.
Right.
Can't be duplicated. It's in Liverpool, and it's wonderful. So
Okay.
both of the festivals are terrific, and I know that there are others all over the world, but those are the ones that I focus on.
Okay. Yeah, I know you do. Anyway, thank you all very much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. I've got my thumbs up too, although you can't see them. So anyway, I'm going to stop the recording. And we're back. Magazine alerts. People magazine has published a special edition celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Beatles' Abbey Road. And editor Bill King has announced a new issue of his Beatle Fan magazine featuring a look back at the summer of '69 by Beatles author Bruce Spicer. And here's the latest Beatles chart news. For the Billboard dated August 24th, it looks like the anticipation for the Abbey Road box set is already starting to happen because Abbey Road is up at 69, taking a huge jump from number 92 last week. The Beatles one is at 73, up 1 from 74. On the vinyl chart, Abbey Road is there. It's mentioned again. It's at number 3, up from number 8 last week. And Sgt. Pepper has re-entered the vinyl chart at number 14. On the Artist 100, the Beatles are at number 36, up from number 41. Now here's our interview with Johnathan Pushkar about his new Beatles-influenced single, Isabella. And if you're a Micky Dolenz Monkees fan, you want to listen. Anyway, here we go. We're talking with Johnathan Pushkar, whose single Isabella, which has a lot of Beatles influence, drops August 23rd. That's the day after we're taping this on Gem Records. The album, called Straighten Up, will be released September 27th, and the title is a loose homage to Badfinger's Straight Up. It has 10 songs, 9 of which are Pushkar originals. Welcome, Johnathan.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
You have some well-known names on the album. Sandy Gennaro, who's drummed for Cyndi Lauper, Joan Jett, and the Monkees, who appears on Boyfriend, and It's All Right. Bill Sinkhu and Jeff Allen Ross, who I know basically from Badfinger and working with Peter Asher and Al Jardine, are also on Boyfriend. But the one that caught me was you have Rob Shanahan, the music photographer for Ringo, on I'd Rather Be Late Than Never. How did you do that? What's he do?
Yeah, so Rob is a really, really good friend of mine. And if anybody out there has had the pleasure of meeting Rob, I'm sure you would agree that he's just one of the nicest guys in the music industry. And,
I have met him, and actually we did at a Ringo show a few years ago. He and I were photographing kind of side by side. I was watching him, and I mean, I'm not even close, not even anywhere near his neighborhood. He is just absolutely fantastic, and his pictures are tremendous.
Oh, they really are. Yeah, he's just captured so many amazing moments of Ringo, and of course Ringo and Paul together, and so many other great artists too. But I met Rob at a fest for Beatles fans in New Jersey years and years ago, and he's just kind of taken me under his wing and mentored me as I was, coming up in the music business, and has definitely introduced me to some cool cats, and now we work together. So in addition to that, he was on this song. He played drums on it, and he plays in a Rolling Stones tribute band, so he's got that Charlie groove, and this song was a little more loud and raucous, perhaps, than the other ones on the album, so I thought he was the perfect fit, and he recorded his drum part in L.A., and the rest is history. So it's a really fun track.
I didn't know. I've talked to him and interviewed him, and I did not know he played drums in a Rolling Stones tribute band. That's wonderful. I wonder why.
I heard it here first.
Yeah, and I wonder why Ringo's never asked him. Well, I mean, obviously Ringo drums on his own albums, but I wonder why, with the way Ringo's albums are, and they're kind of family affairs, that Shanahan doesn't make an appearance on one of his albums. But anyway, and you recently saw Ringo. Where did you see him, and how was the show?
Oh, it was awesome. I saw him here at the Ryman in Nashville, and coincidentally, I went with Sandy Gennaro, who played drums on the album, who we just mentioned a minute or two ago. So we had a great time, and it's pretty cool standing there next to one of your favorite drummers, watching your other favorite drummer. So it was a really rewarding night, and Ringo sounds as great as ever. I would absolutely go again.
Where did the influence for the catchy melody for Isabella come from?
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words on the song there. I just really love that, 60s Beatles driven sound, and perhaps the only band that's a bigger influence on me than the Beatles are the Wonders, who perceptive listeners will recognize as the band from That Thing You Do, the movie, which, of course, it's a fictional band, but, all of their songs in that movie are just so perfectly crafted to be that 60s British influence pop. And, That Thing You Do is actually my favorite song of all time. It trumps any Beatles song. So anytime I sit down to write a song, I try to think about some of those really fun and interesting melodic chord changes in that song specifically. And, I just try to think how to put my own spin on that and make it sound unique and fresh and modern, but vintage. And, sometimes when I do that, it comes out a little something like Isabella.
I actually, when I was listening to the song, I heard I heard Do You Want to Know a Secret? I heard And Your Bird Can Sing, which is my favorite song, my favorite Beatles song, because I love the guitar in there. And I also heard the Byrds. Are you a fan of the Byrds at all, or?
Oh my gosh, yes. A fan might be an understatement. I pretty much exclusively play my Rickenbacker 12 string. That Rickenbacker makes an appearance on every single song on the album, even like the slow ballady acoustic song. I found a way to work it in, and That's just really a part of my signature sound, if I could venture so far to say. So to that point, I really, draw a lot of influence from McGuinn and, that 12-string guitar that he put in there. But I personally think that I dial it back a little bit more. I think that one of the really amazing things about the Beatles specifically is how tasteful George could be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He might wait an entire, song just to come in for a solo, and then you never hear from George again because it was less about playing through the whole song and more about playing when it mattered. So that's something that is really influential to me, is that, you don't need guitars all over the place. They just need to show up where they matter. And, I suppose that's one of the Beatles secrets, if you will, that I've picked up on. So, that's kind of where all the influences for Isabella came from. A little all over the map, but all within that 60s pop family, for sure.
And the lyrics were based on a true story, correct?
They were based on a true story. To tell it as quickly as possible, I met this girl through a friend of a friend and took an interest in her, and then met her again at a party a few weeks later, only to learn, of course, like all the good ones do, that she got a boyfriend, but he was leaving for school in another state. And so, of course, you can't always say what you want to say in the moment, but as I was driving home, I was just kind of thinking about it and thinking, man, if I could say whatever it was that I wanted to say, how would I have presented it? And I went home and picked up my guitar, and no exaggeration. I mean, the chords, the melody, it all just kind of came out naturally. And, that's one of the reasons why I love this song so much, is I look back at it now and it says everything that I wanted it to say, exactly how I would have said it, albeit with a guitar in my hand. And so I'm just really grateful for how it's turned out, and it seems like people are connecting with it even more than I could have ever hoped. So, I'm very, very grateful that it's presented itself the way that it has, and people are liking it.
Can I ask where she is now? Where is she now?
Well, I never saw her again after that party, so I have no idea. Yeah, so one of those stories that doesn't necessarily have a good result, but, maybe not a bad one either. You never know what can happen down the line.
That's true. Who's playing with you on the song?
So I'm playing everything that you hear there, and
Really?
Wyatt Funderburk. Yeah, Wyatt Funderburk, my producer, who works with Kurt Baker and The Connection and some bands like that. He's also in a Beach Boys tribute band called Sail On, and he's a member of the Explorers Club that do like Beach Boys style original stuff. So he produced the album, and he plays bass on the song. He plays some backing vocals, and he plays some organ and synth parts that you'll hear peppered throughout. But it's just me and him on everything.
You mentioned earlier the guitar that was it the Stratocaster that's your big influence. Is that the one that's
no, it's my Rickenbacker 12-string.
Oh, the Rickenbacker 12-string, right. Is that is the Rickenbacker 12-string, is that the one that's pictured on the cover of the picture that I guess that's the album? Is that the album cover that I got, or is that just the single?
It is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So on the album cover, you'll see my Rickenbacker 12-string, and because we're on a Beatle podcast, I can get a little nerdy for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's technically a Rickenbacker 36012 V64, which is a George Harrison replica model.
Oh, wow.
There's also a 63 model that's like the exact same replica, but the V64 is basically a replica of what Rick was making in the year 1964 after the big Hard Day's Night craze. So, I mean, it is just about as darn close as you can get to the Hard Day's Night guitar without, owning the one that George sweat over for the actual Beatles stuff.
Wow. Are all the songs on the album as heavily Beatle influenced as Isabella?
I would like to think so, yeah. There's one cover song on there. It's a cover of Fountains of Wayne, their song Hackensack, which, again, it all ties back. Fountains of Wayne's bass player was Adam Schlesinger, whose name is tough to say, but he was the guy that wrote That Thing You Do for the movie of the same title. So there's always a little tie. A little fun fact. He's the bass player for Fountains of Wayne, and he wrote that song. So I really love that song, and it found its way on there. So the other 9 songs are definitely very Beatle influenced. And, I think that Isabella is definitely up there with the most Beatle influenced, but they've all got that swinging drums, the McCartney-style bass and everything. There's a song on there called Boyfriend that I think a lot of people will hear some Beatle influence on, too. But, I would love to hear from people after the album comes out and hear which ones they think are the most Beatle influenced. But if you're into that, like, pre-Revolver, Rubber Soul, and earlier Beatles sound, this album is a love letter to that era of music, for sure.
Is Adam Schlesinger, is he the guy that worked with the Monkees on Good Times that came out?
Yes. That is the guy.
I thought I recognized that name. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you're very, very perceptive and on it. So, of course, that Monkees Good Times record was really, really great, and that was a lot of fun. And just to give a little aside, too, I'm associate producer on a Mr. Rogers tribute album that's going to come out October 25th.
Oh, wow.
And Micky Dolenz is actually one of our artists, and I got to play my Rickenbacker 12-string on his song for the album. So, it was a real honor to play guitar with the Monkees. That was really amazing. And that's a real fun 60s pop song, too.
Did you get to meet Micky?
I did, yeah. We went to L.A. for that session, and man, as a 60s pop fan, that was like one of the best days of my life. So we worked in a studio in Chatsworth up there, and it was a full day. I mean, it was like 9 a.m. to like almost 1 in the morning with 2 bands. And, of course, Micky Dolenz was our evening session, but in the morning we worked with the Cowsills.
Oh,
and
gosh.
They were so cool to work with. We hung out with them all day, and just watching the Cowsills stack their harmonies is something that I'll never forget. I mean, I have chills just talking about it. They're just absolutely amazing, both as performers and as people. And that was a really rewarding day. That was a lot of fun. So I'm excited for people to hear that Mr. Rogers project.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've met Micky and interviewed Micky a couple of times, but I finally got to meet him in person late last year at one of his and Mike Nesmith's shows. In fact, just prior to when Mike got ill, and it was great to meet him. It was really fantastic. You also got an endorsement from Jeff Britton, formerly of Wings. He said, "I love this album. It's my kind of music. Captures a retro pop feel with today's sound. I wish I had played drums on it." Can I ask why he didn't play drums on it?
The only reason Jeff Britton didn't play drums on this album is because we didn't actually meet until after all the tracking was done, and the CD was literally being pressed at the time that I met Jeff. So I'll keep this story very brief, and in fact, maybe we could do another interview on this. Jeff Britton was the drummer for Paul McCartney and Wings in 1974 when they came here to Nashville, Tennessee to do Junior's Farm and Sally G. Those are the 2 songs they did here of note. And Jeff came back here for the 45th anniversary of Junior's Farm, and he did a show, and I'm working with a film crew, and we're documenting some of the Jeff Britton history and stuff like that. And I got to know Jeff really well over a course of about 3 or 4 days, and we've kept in touch. And before he went back, I said, "Hey, I've got this album. Would you mind if I sent it to you?" And he called me afterward and said, "Hello, Johnathan, this is Jeffrey Britton," and he left a message basically saying, what you just read off. So I'm very, very grateful that Jeff liked it. And after his time with McCartney, he was in a band in the 80s called the Keys. And they're a really, really cool band. They didn't get a ton of publicity because their album didn't even come out in the U.S., but it's a really, really great power pop Beatle-influenced record. And he's actually offered, a standing offer to play drums on my next album.
Oh,
so
wow.
When I start recording that here in a few months, Jeff Britton will certainly make an appearance on the next one.
Fantastic. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 23.
Oh, my. Okay. And how long have you been a Beatle fan?
Oh, man, about 23 years. No, I'm kidding. But my dad would drive me to preschool, I kid you not, listening to the Beatles' greatest hits to and from on the way home. So, the Beatles have literally just been ingrained in my bloodstream since literally as long as I can remember. And so, I've just grown up with them, and it's really just kind of fermented into my, musical output, and my life wouldn't be the same without them. So, I've been a fan for all 23 years on my planet, if I could venture to say.
Wow. What's your favorite Beatle album?
Ooh, my favorite album. I thought you were going to ask for my favorite song.
We could do that too, but I figured I'd start with the album.
Sure. Well, the album is probably Help. I mean, that album is just so fun from start to finish. And a very, very close second would probably be A Hard Day's Night. largely in part to that Rickenbacker 12-string that works its way in there so often. But I just feel like they were at a really great point creatively on A Hard Day's Night. I mean, some of those changes in like the middle part of I Should Have Known Better are just amazing. And I Love Her is great. When I Get Home, You Can't Do That. I mean, I just feel like that was really peak rock and roll Beatles for that early era. And they were just really on top of things. So I love Help. I love A Hard Day's Night. But my favorite Beatles song is actually From Me to You.
Really? That's an interesting that's an interesting choice. Why From Me to You?
I'm a really big proponent of, when it comes to pop music, that is. I know when you have bands like Rush and Pink Floyd, you need 18 minutes to get a whole expression across. But when it comes to jangly pop, my philosophy is if it can't be said in under, 3 minutes and some change, it's dragging on a little too long. From Me to You, just as soon as, the music drops to the last note, it never takes a breather, it never takes a rest. You're just, pulled into the song from start to finish. The harmonies are great. Ringo has some interesting little drum parts there. George's guitar shines through in that little instrumental solo bit in the middle. And I just think as far as the early Beatles go, everybody gets a moment to shine in that song. And it's one of those songs that as soon as it's over, I can't wait to hit repeat and hear it again. So
cool.
I thought long and hard about it, and that is absolutely my favorite Beatles song.
Wow, that's a great explanation. Where can people see you live? Have you got any upcoming live shows coming up?
Sure. So if you're in the South, I'm here in Nashville, and I play around at some writers' nights and things like that. But September 27th, I'll be doing an album release party, kind of pinning down the final details for the venue. So, I'd hate to say it now, but you can look me up on Facebook, Johnathan, Johnathan, Pushkar, P as in Paul, Ushkar. And I'm pretty religious about putting up all my dates and things like that. So you can keep in contact with me there and, see what's coming up. I'm in talks to come up and play in New York City, and have some stuff for LA next year too. So I'll be making the rounds, that's for sure.
Will the album release party be on the internet by chance? Is it going to be broadcast live on Facebook, do you think?
That's one of those little things that we're still ironing out. I'd say there's a pretty good chance it'll be live broadcast, but, until we get everything settled with the venue, it's hard to say. But, for everybody listening, cross your fingers, because that is the plan.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Johnathan. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks, Johnathan Pushkar, for talking to us. The single is Isabella, and it'll be out Friday, August 23rd on Gem Records. Is that correct, Johnathan?
It's actually already out. So for those of you who are geared up by this conversation and want to go give it a listen, you can go right now.
So, and it'll be out on all the regular digital spots, correct?
Yes, everywhere you find music, you can find Isabella, and then the full album will be out on digital and on CD September 27th, the same day that the Beatles box set for Abbey Road comes out.
What a day that's going to be, right? Wow.
Yeah, you can get some late Beatles, you can get some early Beatles with me, you'll have the whole thing.
Yep. Will there be a vinyl release, or is this only digital, Johnathan?
So the single, Isabella, is, just digital, of course, but there will be a CD out, too. And if everybody likes the CD and we sell enough of them, we'll press vinyl next year, hopefully. So, if you dig the sound and you'd like to have it on vinyl, let us know.
Johnathan, again, thank you very much. And thanks to Gem Records for setting up the interview and letting us do this. We'll be right back. And our sincere thanks to Marty Scott at Gem Records for allowing us to play Johnathan's single, Isabella.
He's leaving on a plane from Boston in the morning. You knew this day would come and you didn't need a warning. He's going off to school to master architecture. When he takes off tomorrow, who will protect you? Now is the time. Don't wait another day. Isabella, take my hand, what do you say? Drop him off and you head back
What a cool song that was. Johnathan Pushkar with Isabella. And that's it for now. You can catch our shows on fab4radio.com, beatlesarama.com, and also on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please join our Beatles News and Information group on Facebook for the latest in the Beatles world, and check out our That's What I Want Beatles store page on Facebook for gift ideas for yourself or your favorite people, or where you can find links for both contributing editor Candy Leonard's Beatleness book and my Meet a Monkey Davy Jones ebook. And look for our next show, and please, please, please subscribe, and also rate us on iTunes. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, this is Steve Marinucci saying,
"Be seeing you."
Keep that one. Mark it fab.
What a show!